right to head coach Johnny Jones, and he'll make an opening statement. Then we'll follow up with questions. Coach.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate all you guys being on today and having interest, obviously, in TSU basketball program. And can't tell you how excited we are to be here in Indianapolis, to be a part of what we think is one of the most spectacular events that happens each year in March Madness. And we're looking forward to a tough contest tomorrow with Mount St. Mary's. I know that it'll be a very tough game, but as a group, this is what we started practicing for, and when we started playing back in November, that we was hoping to get to, and that time is here, and we couldn't be more excited.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go with our first question from Ralph Garcia of NGSC Sports.
Coach, good to see you again. Congratulations, Coach, on the SWAC title. And, of course, as every coach loves to hear, welcome to March Madness, Coach.
Thank you, Ralph. We can't tell you again, we were certainly glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's got to be something special. Coach, first thing I want to ask you, just a couple of questions. First thing is, you had the two previous games against Prairie View this year, close losses. And I was very curious to see how your team would respond this time. Obviously, not just the third meeting against Prairie View, but, of course, the meeting for the SWAC title and the right to go to the big dance. So what was different? What changed? Because you had two close losses. What was the game plan that turned it around and actually made it a blowout win for you?
I tell you, it's amazing. You look at Prairie View, they're very good, very talented basketball team. Coach Smith has done a tremendous job with his program. We had two close calls with them. First one, we played them, we were coming off a 14-day layoff because of the COVID protocols and not having a chance to practice. And when we were able to get back to practice, I think we came back on a Friday, and then maybe the game was on a Monday. And unfortunately, one of our players were injured in that game in Weathers in the first half. And unfortunately, we didn't have his services where we needed him to be. And unfortunately, we had a setback there. The next time we played him, I thought it was a well-played game. We wind up losing by 2 points. And again, we unfortunately were stymied by foul trouble in losing Weathers there late in the second half and not having him down the stretch. It really hurt us. And I thought this game we stayed out of foul trouble. I thought on both ends of the floor we were able to handle their pressure because they are a great team in turning people over. We had 20-plus turnovers in those first two games. In the last game we played them, we only had, I think, either 12 or 13 turnovers. So that didn't allow them to get the easy scoring opportunities that we usually give up. And I thought that was a big difference in the game.
And then lastly, Coach, of course, one of the things about March Madness is that teams are going to play teams that they don't normally see. That's the thing about March Madness. You're used to playing your regular teams in the SWAC, in the conference, your regular out-of-conference games. Now, of course, you're going against Mount St. Mary. Have you been able to watch film on them, and what's the game plan looking like?
Yeah, well, the night after, I guess, we saw the draw, we were able to gather as much film as we possibly could and start watching them in their league play and plus the last few games that they've had. And they're a very good basketball team. They're very talented. Their conference tournament is a little bit different. You'd win that conference tournament, you have to go to the higher seeds home court and play your games. And so they were able to go to the second seeded team and the first seeded team and win both of those games on their home floor. So that means that they're playing well at the right time. So we have to certainly be ready. We're extremely focused. We feel like throughout the year, we go through a lot of defensive schemes. We work in practice on our shell drills and everything else. So regardless of what type of offense we may see, we're a hope that we're prepared for it because of what we're working on. And obviously we have our philosophy in terms of how we want to handle certain ball screens and when people are trapping. And so we feel as though we were prepared for anybody that we may play, and we may have to tweak some things because of certain individuals. And that's what we've done so for this game. And we're hoping that we've are able to pull out all the right stops tomorrow at 5:10 here Eastern Standard Time against Mount St. Mary's.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate you taking the questions. Good luck tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, our next question will be Greg Bailey, KTRK TV, Channel 13.
Hey, Coach, congratulations. When you and I got to talk on Sunday, you mentioned to me team chemistry and how vital that has been during your great stretch. Where does that chemistry come from, and how do you see that play out and help you so much when you guys share the basketball so well?
Well, we always talk about being a family unit, being extremely close. The best potential of me is we. And I think these guys have done a tremendous job of coming together as a group because some of them are transfers from different universities. Some things possibly didn't work out for them, and we're wanting to make sure that we're stronger as a core group instead of individual. And we think that we can get more if we work together instead of individuals. And I think that they've seen that progress happen throughout the season, winning 14 of their last 15 games in terms of coming together. And the beauty of it is, for me as a coach and what I see in this team, I think there's another layer for these guys, and that gives me reason to be excited.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Our next question comes from Mark Berman, Channel 26, Fox, Houston, Texas.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you, Mark. How you doing?
Good, Johnny. How are you?
Great, thank you.
You talked about what Mount St. Mary's had being 1 and 2. Well, you beat 1 and 2 as well, right? Except it was on technically a neutral site. But do you feel like your team is peaking at just the right time where you're at right now?
I think we're playing extremely well, and I think the latter part of the season, and again, I think we've got 9 straight wins, 14 of our last 15 games. We've been in some extremely tight battles. We've gone in at halftime at a deficit. We've gone in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game with the deficit, and our guys have done a remarkable job of sticking together and figuring out a way to win. And I think that's the sign of a good team. There have been nights throughout this stretch that we haven't played extremely well, but at the end of the day, we've wind up winning the basketball game. So when that happens, some great things happen because I think these guys are playing with extreme confidence right now. And I think as we talk about all the time as being really locked in and focused, I think they're at that place now.
It might be a bit of a cliche, but given what you've seen from Mount St. Mary's, you feel like you have to play your best game to get it done tomorrow night?
Well, I think when you kind of get to this field of 68, everybody's playing well. Everybody know that the name of the game is to survive and advance, and you have to really play well. We're playing the absolutely first game of the tournament. Last year it was canceled. We're opening up, and so one team will be the first team to have a chance to go home. We're going to be fighting like heck to make sure that we're not that group.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Once again, if you have a question, go in the chat feature and just put question, and I'll make sure to get to you. Our next question will be Mr. Daniel Rodriguez from This League Show.
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask you, what was the reaction maybe right after winning the conference tournament and knowing that you guys are going to make it to the big dance after going through adversity, especially in a COVID season?
Well, I tell you, it certainly was a difficult season. When you talk about the COVID season, you talk about the freeze that happened there in Houston where we actually lost our own gym floor. We had to go play at a neutral site there in Houston at the Campbell Center for our last 2 regular season home games. So our guys have fought through a lot of adversity, and I've always told them that the thing that adversity do 2 things. It breaks some people, make others break records. And these guys decided to take the latter and make sure that they've stayed focused. So right after the game, I think it's a little bit different. We had an opportunity to celebrate there on the floor. I never made it back to the locker room because we celebrated. They did the ceremony on the floor. We cut the nets down. Mike Weathers and I had to leave from the floor to go into the interview room. From the interview room, they'd already packed up the locker room. We had to get on the bus, get to the hotel, pack our stuff, and head to the airport to get on the flight to get here to Indy. And so it was kind of a whirlwind, and things were happening so quick that you miss some of those things of the excitement that you generally go through when you're going to spend the night and do all those things. So things happen so quick, and to get here, and our focus has been remaining on now our next opponent. So the enjoyment, obviously, and the excitement was there. I saw the kids' faces when they're cutting down the nets and taking pictures with the trophies and all those things. and it certainly gave me some satisfaction knowing that they've accomplished something that we feel that is extremely special, and their hard work has paid off. So that part of it, we were able to celebrate, but less the fans and no one there and cheering and cutting the nets down. It certainly made a difference, but still rewarding the same.
And coming to Indy, how has it been maybe being isolated in the hotel room? And how are you guys making sure that the players maybe don't get cabin fever being in their rooms all day, maybe making sure maybe they get outside or just at least move around?
It's been different, I can tell you. It's with the first night we were here, we really couldn't move around. We actually had to stay in the room, and they would bring our breakfast, lunch, and dinner and put it by the door, and they would call you and tell you your food's outside, and you'd open the door and get it because you couldn't leave out of your room until everybody had passed through passed the test of getting tested here once we were at the hotel. So that was about a day and a half of that, and it's not natural, it's not normal. I've been very fortunate to be at these events before, and each team, we're in a hotel with 25 different teams. Each team have their own room, own floor. Each player have their own room. So with the social distancing, if somebody should come up a negative, that they can isolate, and they've got their own space and their own place. We travel around. We only have a group of about 25, but they have 3 different buses for us to get on to go to practice sites, and they're doing everything that they possibly can. So is unnatural is this whole deal is. The good thing about it, when we went over to practice at Indiana University yesterday down in Bloomington with the team, I saw the natural come back to our guys because it's been a little bit different in the hotel. But when they hit that gym floor, they were so excited as though that they'd been released from something. And so it's been good for us. And so it's been challenging, but we wouldn't want to be any other place.
Hey, thank you. Our next question will be to Mr. Chris Gardner of Houston Round Ball Review.
Coach, if you can, what was the recruiting pitch to get Michael Weathers to come to TSU?
Well, I was very fortunate. I have a staff member that's with me, and Brandon has done a tremendous job of looking in the transfer market and finding guys and putting in phone calls and utilizing the contacts that we have. And when he had done that, Mike Weathers, coach from when he was at Ohio U, I have a relationship with, and he became an assistant at Oklahoma State. Mike transferred and went to Oklahoma State there with him. So I think through our contacts that we were able to create a relationship with Mike. And when we knew that he had an interest in our place, we certainly, turn up the heat, so to speak, the impact that he could possibly make on our program in coming in. And he came in and took his visit and saw what we had to offer. And we told him that where he's trying to get to, he certainly can get there from here. The media market there in the Houston area with their NBA teams, football, you got baseball. Houston's a tremendous place that you can live after your career is over. So there are a lot of things out there and a lot of positives that Mike was able to look at, and then really having a chance to get his career back on target. And we're fortunate that we've been able to kind of hold up our part in a sense and put him in a good place with good players around him. And he's done a tremendous job of taking on that challenge and helping lead these guys to championship status. And those are some of the things that we've talked about. And in the same, Mike's on pace to graduate here in May, so we couldn't be more excited.
Our next question is from Mr. Carter Hill.
Is he on mute? Because I can't hear him.
We'll come back to him. We'll move on to our next question. He said he has audio issues. We'll come back to him. Our next question is from Christopher Heidel from Herb FM Sports Radio in Baltimore, Maryland.
Hi, Coach Jones, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you for
Yes.
taking my question this morning, and I hope you guys are safe in Indianapolis. Just talk about Mount St. Mary's. What do you look at? I know you had just saw film a couple days ago because it's really like a whirlwind. You're just saying, what do they look like? Is there a team in your league that reminds you of Mount St. Mary's, or is there somebody totally different?
They're totally different. They have really good size in terms of the post guys. Now their guard interaction, because we have a guard somewhat dominated league, and so their engine that really run their team is their point guard, extremely quick and does an excellent job. So our league is pretty much equipped with those guys, and that's what we have to pretty much defend most of the season. But they, at the same time, from having a dynamic guard. They have really good post players who can really rebound a basketball. One of their post players was voted Defensive Player of the Year. So they certainly present a little bit different challenge than some of the other teams because we don't see the massive size with the post guys that they have night in, night out in our league.
I want to follow up on a question I know, we're Indiana University in Indiana tomorrow, and that's a very popular play. Have you being on that court, knowing that there's some great people? It's almost like Yankee Stadium of college basketball.
Well, I tell you, on the unfortunate side of few of Indiana's who walked in there yesterday, I've had an opportunity to bring a team in there when I was the head coach at University of North Texas and played against Mike Davis. And Mike, in turn, brought his Indiana basketball team to University of North Texas to play a game because Bracy Wright was from the area. But at the same time, when I walked in yesterday, I saw the championship banners from the 81 87 team. I was on the Final Four 81 team at LSU versus Isaiah Thomas in that group in 81, 87 team. We got knocked out of the tournament in Cincinnati at the Elite Eight against Indiana when they won the national championship in New Orleans. So I was looking for a ladder to see if I could get up there and take those banners down yesterday before we started practice. But that place has so much history in it, and our guys really enjoyed taking a lot of pictures in there and the banners. And I was able to talk about a little bit of the history that really come with that place. And it's a unique place. It has unbelievable tradition in it. And I'm so excited that our guys were going to have an opportunity to play really on that floor. And this really wouldn't happen, I guess, in a normal season because we're playing obviously in stadium type places now. But to be playing in a venue like that, I think will be even better for our young men.
Well, Coach, good luck tomorrow night.
I certainly appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Our next question is from Mr. Carter Hill of the Fifth Quarter.
Hey, Coach, you hear me okay now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, first off, congratulations. My question to you is, typically there's a couple mid-majors every year that can make a run in the tournament. Why do you think Texas Southern can be that team this year?
Well, because I think we have the right nucleus of guys, and I feel as though that the chemistry with this basketball team is right. So I think we have quality play from our point guard spot to our post guys, and I think that's exactly what you need in each position that we have. We feel that our guys are skilled, and we have some depth in terms of our bench. And it's all about playing well at the right time. And we have a core of guys that can make shots, make plays. We've got dynamic point guard. We've got post guys that can play with their back to the basket, rebound the basketball, and defend in the post. So everything that we need, we have. We just have to make sure that we put it all together. And the team that win the national championship, and that's 6 games during this period, will have to be doing that and hitting on all cylinders for that to happen. And we won't be any different. We've just got to hope that we continue to work hard and we come in with the same focus and mindset, and we're hopeful that we're that team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have time for one more question if someone wants to chime in. And we have 2 questions overall that's left if someone wants to take the final spot. Our next question will be a follow-up from Mr. Rafael Garcia.
Coach, coming back to you, I started thinking, again, it's all about the game plan. Practice, you practice, you prepare for the game, and then, of course, the game gets underway. That's when it gets serious. You've got, players who have been here, those who have not. You've got to manage the emotions of your players. What are you looking for in the first 5-10 minutes of the game from your team?
Well, I know it's going to be nervous energy, and it should be. Guys stepping out on that floor for the first time. But our biggest deal is just like any other game. We've got to get out there and lose ourselves in between those lines. You've got to block out everything else. You plan on that 94 by 50-foot court, and we've got to make sure that we're focused in that direction. And if we can lose ourselves out there playing as hard as we possibly can, one, on the defensive end of the floor, other things will become easier for us because therefore we're concentrating on the right things and not being distracted by the others. And but I know there'll be some emotions, there'll be some hard thrown passes and some things that go awry, but I think our guys will settle in like they've done pretty much all year long. But it's going to be an exciting time for them, but they will be ready at the right time, and I think the focus will be right.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you, Ryan, for taking that question.
Yes, thank you, Ralph.
If we have no further question for Coach Jones, he can leave
Excuse
now.
me. Hello?
Oh, yes.
Excuse
yes.
me. I've had my hand up, but can I ask a question to Johnny?
Come on,
yes,
Matt.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny.
No problem.
Hey, buddy. Good to see you, man. I talked to Byron Smith, and he said, look, I could come up with all kinds of excuses why we didn't win that championship game, but the fact is Johnny just does a great job with his guys. Once they got rolling, we couldn't stop it. Once you get rolling, it's usually Mike Weathers that gets you rolling. How does Mike, not only his talent, but how he lifts that team, Johnny, if you could just expound on what he does for your ball club?
Well, the good thing about Mike and our guys, he's kind of really been the leader. He's really been the quarterback of our basketball team, and Mike has gotten better as the year has progressed. A lot of these guys are new. This is Mike's first time, along with Carl Weathers, playing as a unit and as a group. And as the years progress, Mike has learned more about his teammates. His teammates have learned more about him, that they've become more comfortable on the floor on the offensive end and what's the areas that they need the ball, where they like it, where's the spacing at, when to, when not to, in terms of making plays. And so that's the part that has become the difference, I think, in this basketball team and the big turnaround or whatever for us. And they really trust each other. At the beginning, it was hard to trust because you can't trust what you don't know. And so they were going in with blind faith, I guess, in a sense. But they've really somewhat learned each other and become more familiar. And I think that's one of the reasons that we've had success.
Just one last quick question. I've heard you talk about all the complications of this season. In one way, are you amazed that we've gotten to this point, Johnny? That we've actually made it?
Well, for us, because of the cancellations due to COVID, because of other scenarios that have happened because of weather, we wind up having to play 7 games in 14 days. That's a lot. That's a lot, and that's a real quick turnaround in terms of scouting report and being back on the floor, and it's real taxing on these guys' bodies. We wind up playing a game at Grambling and left out that night to get to Jackson State so we could play on Monday because we didn't want to get caught in the weather. And we sit in Jackson, Mississippi for 5 days and no game, and then was able to return home. So the difficulty of all those things and distractions and all those things that really happened for these guys to really stay the course and stay focused like they have, I thought it showed strength. I thought it showed maturity in what they were doing. And that Jackson trip could have gone one or two ways because when you've got a group of guys like that around each other for that length of time and they're just kind of locked up in a sense, some bad things can happen. You can start getting on each other's nerves. I think that trip allowed these guys to become even closer, which was good for us. And I think that's it's really been good, and it says a lot about this team.
Thanks, Johnny. Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.